everyone, and welcome to Immediate Immersion Live. Today we're going to talk about games. So welcome everybody. And in just a moment, I will get back to you. Let me go ahead and show you the intro, and we'll get started on our talk. See you in a minute. Welcome back, everybody. If you're new here, please let me know by putting in the comments #newbie. And if you've been here before, put #returnee. If you like what you see today, please go ahead and give us a like and a subscribe. That helps us get out to more teachers so more people can learn as we go along. If you don't know who I am, my name is Scott Benedict, and I am with Immediate Immersion. And today we're going to talk about some games that you can do in your comprehensible input. Hello, welcome, Carrie. Nice to see you again. And the first game that I want to talk about is called Word Volleyball. Now, this is something that I myself created. Not everything that I'm going to talk about today came from my own brain, but this one did, and my kids really enjoy it. Welcome back, Catalina. And all you need is some sort of like a Nerf ball, or I use a small beach ball. That's what I like to use, and you can use this and you take it outside. And I have a theme that I'm working with. Either, like, I start off when I start doing the word volleyball for the first time of the year, we do counting first. So I have all my kids stand in a circle, and then the goal is to keep the ball up and moving for as long as possible without touching the ground or a kid missing it. I tell my kids they can't kick the ball, spike the ball, hit the ball hard at somebody. It all needs to be underhand type of a hit. But in order to hit the ball, they have to say the magic word. Now, that is based off the theme. So when we start off and do counting, that's what they'll do. They'll have to count in the target language, of course. So for me, Spanish, uno, then hit, dos, then hit. And we try to see how far we can go up the number line. Now, I love to pit my kids against each other, so my different classes will compete who can get to the highest number, and then I'll give them a prize for doing that. And other variations are using themes. They can be words that start with and give out a letter. So again, words in the target language that start with a certain letter, or animals, or colors, or months of the year, etc., etc., etc. It can be anything. My rule, though, with using themes is you cannot say the same word back to back. There have to be at least two different words in between. So let's say we're going to use ball as our first word, and we're going to use like sporting equipment. So ball, they can't go ball and then someone else say ball again. They can't go ball, bat, ball, but they can go ball, bat, glove, ball. So we do it that way with themes that we go along. And it can work with any type of a theme, any type of a word. And I only play it for about 5 to 7 minutes, often as a brain break. But my kids like doing it. We also can do it with review words, like if we are I've been targeting certain words in a novel that come up a lot. So usually when I read a novel, we have about 10 to 20 words that come up frequently in the novel that we want our kids to understand. And so it might be a review of those types of words as well. And in that case, I play it a little bit longer. So that's my word volleyball game. It's really fast-paced. It's really easy. No prep on the teacher's part. And my students really like to get outside and play it. The next one, and I'm sure they learned it from another teacher, but I learned this from my colleague, Paula Greenstead. And that one would be called 10, 10 in Spanish. And I need to move that out of the way here. Bear with me 1 second. There we go. So in this particular one, the original variation is kids, again, sit in a circle in your classroom, and they're counting. They can count, they have to count consecutively, starting with 1, and they can count, each person can say up to 3 consecutive numbers at a time. No more than 3, no less than 1. The goal is not to be the one who says 10. When they get to 10, that person is out. So, for example, the first kid could go 1, 2, then the next kid would go 3, 4, 5, and then the next kid could go 6, 7, and the next kid would go 8, 9, and that forces the next kid to say 10, and they're out. So that's the kind of game that you want to play there. Again, it goes relatively quickly. My kids like this game, and some variations. Anything that has an order to it can be a variation. So days of the week, you don't want to be stuck on Sunday. It could be months of the year. You don't want to be stuck on December. You can count, but instead of doing it by ones, you can do it by tens. And you don't want to be 100. Or you can do it by hundreds, and you don't want to be thousands. Or you can do it by thousands, etc., etc., etc. You get the idea. So it goes relatively quick. It's another fun. It can be used as a brain break game. It can be used as a practice game with different, numbers or days of the week or months of the year. Even though it's geared towards really basic things, you can use it for upper levels to give them a little bit of a break. I also do it with time. So then 12 o'clock would be out at that one. So there's different things that you can all vary it, but that's the goal, is to go around the room, practice some vocabulary, and when they get to that magic word, whether it be a number or a day of the week or the month of the year, whatever it be, those then would be out. The next game that I do, and I've been playing this one for quite a long time, it's called the pencil game, and I learned this from my colleague Carmen Andrews back when I taught in Vegas with her. So I'm not sure where she may have gotten it from, or if it was her own idea. I'm not sure, but it's called the pencil game, and this is a great game to review any story, reading, novel chapter. It works really, really well. It's easy and it's no prep whatsoever. So basically, you have kids pair up with one pencil in between them. It doesn't have to be a pencil, but it's usually a pencil. Something for them to grab. But there's only one between them. And you ask true and false questions in the target language. When the answer is true, then nobody wants to grab that pencil. You don't want to have it. When the answer is false, you want to be the one who grabs that pencil and has it in your hand, which is kind of counterproductive to the brain. So it makes the brain really think harder because they want to grab it when it's true. And then this one you keep scoring to find out which of the pair in the pair has the most points. So they get a positive point for the answer being false and if they have the pencil in their hand. They get a negative point if the answer was true and they have the pencil in their hand. And nothing ventured, nothing gained. If no one has the pencil in their hand, there's no point gained and no point lost. Now, I like this game really well because it's fast paced and I can, spend the last 3 or 4 minutes at the end of class just reviewing something and it goes quick. There's no preparation whatsoever. Um, and usually my slower processors are the ones who win this game, which is one of the things I really, really like about it. So, how they win is because they may have less negative points than their partner. Especially if their partner is one of the top performing kids, they always want to be right. So they're always grabbing that pencil and they often grab it when it's true and lose points. Whereas the slower processors might not venture out to grab the pencil so quickly. And so they may not gain points, but they're not losing points either. So it's a really fun, quick paced little game. And my kids generally like it. The next one, a lot of you may already know. I'm going to switch over to a screen share, so bear with me just a moment as I move to that screen. And here we are. So Gimkit. I like this game, and although I've heard about it for a while, I was hesitant to learn something new. When everything is going on in the school year, you get overwhelmed with all these new websites people talk about. And Gimkit is a paid website. I think it's like $60 a year, and I started using it last year. And what I liked about it is once you have it set up, there's nothing really the teacher has to do. And that's what I like. It's not something that I have to monitor. So it's a great review activity. It's a great comprehensible input type of activity while I can be doing something else. If I need to grade some papers or if I just need some rest time, it's great for that. So you can find kits that might work for you. For example, we are about to start a novel coming up in a couple weeks. La Vida y Muerte, Vida y Muerte en la Mara Salvatrucha. So I can just do a search and see if I can find pre-made. And see, I can already see there are some pre-made ones already made, and I can review them by clicking on them. This one seems to be just vocabulary. And I can just review them to see if that's what I want. If I like it, I can make a copy of it and add it to mine for my kids to play. And you can do a search for anything. Another novel, it'll be our first time teaching this novel, is Me Perdí en Medellín. We're going to be doing that in Spanish 2 in a couple weeks. So see, there is one. It's already been done. I can look at it, read it in here, and see what they have, and I can choose which ones I like and I can use. So you can search that way. You don't have to use novels. You could, let's say, I'm trying to think, preterite, if you want to do grammar-wise. And you can see what works. Or you can make your own. So I have made my own. So we are working with the conditional for my level 3s. We do fears in Spanish 2. In my Spanish 1, we were reviewing colors, days of the week, numbers, months of the year. So I did that. My kids always need practice with numbers, so I have that. I made a superverbs one. Here is Vida y Muerte vocab. This is a novel we used last year. We're trading it out for Me Perdí en Medellín this year. Here's time. I think I didn't make this time one. I think I got it by searching for it. But then you choose, let's say we're going to do the conditional. You click play live. And they have all of these different games, and they're always adding new games. The newest game was Farm Chain. And I was like, oh, this is too complicated. I don't know how to play these games. I don't know how to explain how to play these games to my kids. I didn't want to go there. That's kind of one of the reasons why I hesitated. But all of them have instructions, and the kids figure out how to play them. They might have experience with games from other classes. So I don't worry about that anymore. The Trust No One is one of my favorite ones. Not my favorite ones. It's one of my kids' favorite ones. But it has the full instructions if you don't know how to play it. Fishtopia is one of my personal favorite ones. But kids have to basically answer questions to earn points, and they can use their points to buy power-ups or things like that. But the end goal is to end up with the most points or money at the end of the game. And there's all these different games they can play. Fishtopia, Trust No One, Classic, Capture the Flag, Farm Chain, Tag. There's Human versus Zombies, The Floor is Lava, Draw That, What Is. They have a lot of different games in here. Some are team type games, and some are individual type games. And it's just a whole variety. So even with the same set of words or questions that you've created, there's many different games that you can play. And so it makes it different each time. And then I usually award the winners. I usually give homework passes so they can skip out of homework or skip out of a quick write or something like that, type passes. If it's an individual game, I usually award to the top 3 kids. If it's a team game, obviously the team that won. Now with Trust No One, this is like the Among Us game that's popular with kids right now. So there are usually 2 imposters and then the other kids. And so it's either 2 people who win, the imposters, or it's the rest of the class that wins. But they work to try to figure out who the imposters are. So there's a lot of variety of different games. You can make up what you need. You just click continue, and it'll set up the game for you with a game code, and you can go right along just like any other online game. You can also assign it as a homework assignment if you'd like, and have them play it asynchronously and not in class. So it's really nice to do this game. It's really fun, and my kids really enjoy it. Once, while we're here, a new one that I've done, and I've only played this a couple of times, is Blooket. And I didn't want to create a whole new Blooket. So there is, and I can't remember, you have to do a search, but there was a way for me to convert my Gimkit set that I made over to Blooket. So I used a third-party website to do it. Just do a search for convert Gimkit to Blooket, or Blooket to Gimkit if you're going from one way to another, so you don't have to recreate the wheel. But it gave me a different game that was a little bit different for my kids to play. As you see, I only have one right here now. It's my Spanish 1 review that I did. It has 20 questions, and you can edit it. You know, I've told you it was basically review months, days of the week, colors are in there, and the Super 7 verbs are in there as well. You can search and see if there's other Blookets that you can use. And once you're done, you save your set, and then you can host a game. And just like Gimkit, there are a variety of games that you can play. I'm not as well versed with Blooket, but I let my kids choose, and they figure out how to play the game. They're really adept at doing that, so I'm not really worried about it. I don't care which one they play, as long as they're getting practice. So I'll do these 2. They're great for review times, or if you just need 5 or 6 minutes at the end of the period, your lesson ran short, you finished it a little early, it went smoother than you thought, you can use one of these pickup games as a sponge type activity just to soak up the last few minutes of class. So those are the two online ones. Blooket, I'm not even sure if there's a paid version. I've not had to pay for that particular one. There may be a paid version. Yeah, there is Upgrade to Plus. I don't know what the benefits are. I've not been restricted so far with what I've used it for, but I do pay for the Gimkit, which is I think about $60 a year. Let me go on back here. Any questions so far before I go on to the next game? Excuse me while I blow my nose. I have a little bit of a cold today. Oh. While you're contemplating if you have any questions so far, I will go on to the next one. And that one is called Sixes. And this one I learned from Martina Bex. And this one is an activity where kids compete to finish some piece of work. What that work is, it doesn't really matter. I don't generally use worksheets in the worksheet, typical idea of a worksheet from like a workbook. But I might have a reading where there are comprehension questions that I want them to answer. Or I may have a crossword puzzle practicing some vocabulary that I want them to work on. Or I could have them, I want them to write a story of X number of words before they're finished. All of those types of activities that I want them to work on. Now, what they do is each student in your class needs to have a die. So each student gets one die, and they are in groups of 3, 4, depending on, your class size. I don't like to do it less than 3, and more than even 5 is a little too much. So I probably stick with the 3 to 4 if I can. And what they do is they keep rolling the die until someone gets the 6. And whoever gets the 6 gets to start working on their assignment, whatever that assignment is. It could also be a Senior Wooly Nugget. It could be one of those types of activities as well. Lots of different ideas that you can use for those assignments. But then they need to work as fast as they can, because the other 2 people, if they're using a group of 3, are still rolling their die. And when they get a 6, then the other person has to stop working on the activity, and the person who got the 6 then starts their activity and tries to get as much done before the next person rolls a 6. Then the other people in the group who are not working are rolling and rolling and rolling until the next person gets a 6, and then they work on the assignment a little bit further. And then the winner is the first one in their group to finish the assignment completely before the other ones in the group. But remember, only one kid in the group can be working on the assignment at a time, and the other ones are rolling their die until they get a 6. And once they get a 6, then that person takes over. The other person must stop working, and then it continues along that way. So it's another fast-paced one. It's another one that, you don't really have to monitor that much. So if you need just a little bit of a brain break yourself from, always talking, always providing the comprehensible input, this is great. And pairing them with reading activities or Senior Wooly activities are the best way that I see, because it provides comprehensible input while they're doing it. They have to read the text, then they have to answer the questions. So it gives them a lot more practice there. And then the Senior Wooly Nuggets with a familiar song also does the same thing. So that's what I prefer to do with them, is use that. Those are my activities. Next one. This one I learned from Jason Fritz, and it's called Running Dictation. And this one's a little bit complicated. It takes a long time, so don't think it's going to get done in a few minutes. It's not. I usually plan an entire class period on this one. But I do like it because it is a way to provide some extra comprehensible input. So here's what you do. I like to take a whole story. So some teachers do the same paragraph or same few sentences for each team. I don't like to do that because they can cheat that way. So I'll take a whole story, and I like to have about 5 teams. So I divide it up so I have how many kids in each based off 5 teams. And I will break up this story into 5 equal sections. So I actually count the words and make sure. Maybe I want 100 words each. Or for my lower levels, I might do 25 words, whatever it might be. And I don't worry about if the 100th word or the 25th word is in the middle of a sentence. I just stop it right there because I want it to be equal, that everybody has the equal number of words. So then I will label each one Group 1, Group 2, Group 3, Group 4, Group 5. And I like to do it where I post it on the outside of my room, on the wall on the outside of my room. But if that's not feasible, you can post it around your inside of your room. But I prefer to do it outside. I will open the door and prop the door open. Each team has to choose one person who's the scribe. They can never leave the room. They must always stay seated. They must always have the paper in their hand. And they're the only ones who can write. And they never leave the room. So you have now 5 scribes. The rest of the members in the group are the relay runners. So the first kid in each group, when we say start, will go run outside, find their group paper, and they're going to read it. And they're going to memorize as much of it as they can. Then they're going to run back into the room, and they're going to tell their scribe. And their scribe has to write it. Spelling counts, accent marks count, all of the period, punctuation, all of it has to be word for word, letter for letter, spelling for spelling, accurate. When the first person comes in, now the second person can go out, memorize as much of it as possible, and then run back and tell the scribe. And this process continues until they think they have it as they're finished with their section and it's as accurate as possible. Then they come to me and I will check it. If there's an error, I'll tell them, nope, it's wrong. I don't tell them what is wrong with it. The runners need to go back out and try to figure out what's wrong. So they're constantly reading and they're checking with what's on the paper to make sure it's all transcribed correctly. And it's relay. Only one person per team can be out looking at a time. And the scribe can never, ever, ever, ever leave. Because they'll cheat that way. They'll go, oh, okay, I know what I can fix. So we don't want that. It's all got to be communicated. The runners communicate to the scribe. And when the scribe thinks it's all finished, then they come to me for checking. So this one does take a little while because they usually make small errors and it takes them a while sometimes to figure it out. They might be missing a comma or a period somewhere or a capital letter somewhere. But it's a great way for them to get some input as they're reading the story and to learn spelling. They're getting the spelling as well, how to spell these words as accurately as possible. So it's a fun game. It does go fast in a sense that the kids are always moving, but it takes a while to get done depending on how many words you're giving for your kids to do it. You might try it the first time with, a short, maybe 1 or 2 sentences, maybe 10 words, just to get their appetite wet for it. And then you can try it with a longer set another time. So that's running dictation. And the last game that I have that I wanted to talk about today is 20 questions. And this is very similar to the English game that we learned about when we were kids, where kids ask questions, but here will be in the target language, trying to guess the word that's in your head. So, what I usually do is I have a list of words that I want to use. So I have that. My kids don't see that. I have that one. I select one that I'm going to use, and you can do it one of two ways. You can let the kids start off and not have any idea what this word is, or you can give them a theme of what this word is. So you could say it's an animal, or you can say it's a verb, or you can say it's a food, or you can just not say anything and let them start by asking, is it an animal? Is it a place? Is it a thing? Is it an idea? Is it a verb? And they keep asking questions. Now, I know it says 20 questions. I don't limit it to 20 questions. I let them ask as many questions as they need, but we go around the room. So I will have each kid ask a question so that everybody's participating for them to try to guess what this word is. And they're asking me these questions in the target language. So it's great practice for them using question words and also circumlocuting. So they may not know certain things, so they're going to have to use all of their skills to try to come up with the questions and how to talk around words they may not already know. But I like this one because, number one, they're getting lots of comprehensible input. They're hearing all of these questions, and they're also having to form their own questions. So it's a little bit of a speaking practice. It's also a review of all of our question words. And it could be the words that I'm thinking of that I have on my list could be review words, or it could be a theme-based word, or it could be a funny word. But obviously it has to be a word that they're familiar enough with, so it's not just guessing out of a blue. They have to look it up in the dictionary because they have no idea. So let's, for example, if I'm using animals, I'm not going to have like the word for platypus because my kids know that word because we use it all the time. But the average kid does not know platypus. You need to stick with words that they would already know. Animals like dog, cat, bird, elephant, those types of words that they may already know. It's got to be somewhat fair. You could do numbers and make it a big number. I like using big numbers when I do that because they get lots of practice with the small numbers because big numbers have small numbers in them. But all of those, any kind of word that you want, they can just be guessing and asking questions about it to try to figure out what that word is. And you can play this as long or as short as you want. If you want to stick to the original 20 questions, that you win if they can't guess it in 20 questions, or they win if they guess it within 20 questions. You could also give them bonus points for how many questions they don't use. So let's say they guessed it in 11 questions. So they get 1 point for winning, but they get also an additional 9 points because they didn't use all 20 questions. If I want a shorter game, I may say you have to guess it in 10 questions or in 5 questions. But then again, if you're doing those and making it shorter, you're going to have to make it a much more simple word to make it fair for them. So those are the, 8, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, 8 games that I had in mind I wanted to talk about today. Does anybody have any other games that they would like to share with the group? Okay, I don't see any questions coming up. If you do have any questions or any ideas, feel free to share them with me at scott@immediateimmersion.com. I hope this video was helpful for you. If you're watching it on the replay, feel free to leave your ideas or questions in the comments. I do go back and check and answer those as we go along. I thank all of you. If you found this helpful, please like and subscribe. It really does help us get out to other teachers and help them along. And I will be back next week. I'm not sure what the date is for, 5th, 6th. I think it's the 7th of November. Same time, same channel, 5 p.m. Pacific time. And I wish everybody a happy Halloween if you're in the United States. If you are in a Latin American country, I wish you happy Dia de los Muertos, which starts tomorrow. And everybody else, have a great week, and I hope to see you next week. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you.